NeonicVoid Productions presents.
Hello and welcome to Spookocalypse, where we talk all things spooky. My name is Housekeeper. I am joined by my three other hosts. I'm going to go out and be out of the box. I'm going to introduce myself. There's Zio, Mad Chairman, and Bunyip. Before we get on to our discussion, there is some housekeeping to get out of the way, so let me do that right now. If you like this podcast, make sure you follow and rate us on whatever site you listen to your podcast. Share with your friends. New episodes get uploaded every Saturday. Links are down in the description for other podcasts that are part of the Neonic family. Follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at Spookocalypse. That's at SPOOKOCALYPSE. We also have a YouTube. I will probably be saying this for the next 3 episodes. If you have joined us from YouTube, hi, welcome. How you doing? I'm pretty sure you see that we also have all the other podcasts uploaded on this channel as well. If you're not, go in the link tree. We are there. We do spooky shit, and mints are going to be on that pillow.
And what's the flavor mint today?
There's not even mints. It's just dried meat. It's dried meat. That's all.
Not fungus?
No fungus. I
thought you were going to say wine.
Oh, no, we're not going to get into that. No, let's not.
See, that's one way to overcome speaking anxiety, is to keep talking and don't let anyone else get a word in. Just be like, I'm going to introduce you guys.
Damn.
Well, I wanted to get out of the box because I know that there was a time where we were like, one of these days we're going to just introduce the other hosts. And I was like, you know what?
That's Tyler. Not Tyler. Oh my God. Edit that out. Bunyip, you did say that.
And I was and I was like, you know what? I'll take the leap. I'll do it.
I mean,
Pioneer.
We kind of backed out of introducing. We're like, you do it, and you're like, all right, fine, I'll introduce all y'all, and then I'll do the housekeeping, and then y'all don't have to say a thing for the rest of the episode.
Like, I'll just say everything. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not drunk today, so.
So today is going to be a 3-parter. We're doing some we haven't done in a while. We're doing an episode the week it comes out. What? Not because I wanted to do it. What?
Liar.
Yeah,
but it is.
Right, it is. Because I'm the one that fucking pushed for this.
I mean, we're not releasing the episode the week it came out. We're doing the episode the week it finishes.
Well, not the week it finishes. Like, this episode will come out this week. The next 3 will come out next week. And then leading up to basically, you know what? It'll make more sense if I explain. So we're doing, for the next 3 episodes, we're doing The Last of Us. And the next 3 weeks are the last 3 episodes of season 1. So I thought it'd be a great idea to do, for these last 3 weeks before the season 1 ends, we talk about a group of episodes from season 1 leading up to the finale. So, for example, this week we'll be doing 3 episodes, and then of course the rest of the week, last 2 weeks, we'll be doing 3 episodes as well, because it's about 9 episodes. So it'll be 3 episodes a week. So, which when we upload the last episode, it'll be the week after the finale. So, kind of just talking about as it completes, because after watching the first 3 episodes of this series, I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this. Episode 3 did it for me. I'm like, yeah, I want to talk about it. Yeah.
I wonder why episode 3 did it for you.
Because episode 3, that you'll soon find out, will touches a little close to home for me, for reasons. I still haven't decided when I talk about that, but for reasons outside of the gayness of episode 3. Controversial episode 3? Question mark.
Yeah.
I swear, sometimes you think Twitter people would be like, "Oh, it's so controversial." Is it though? But whatever. So, The Last of Us is a HBO show that is based on the video game that was developed back in 2013 by Naughty Dog. Naughty. The show's been releasing weekly since January 15th of this year on HBO and HBO Max. Production companies, the Mighty Might, Word Games, PlayStation Productions, Naughty Dog, and Sony Pictures Television, and it's distributed by Warner Brothers Domestic Television Distribution, hence HBO Max. There are going to be 9 episodes in this season. I would say the creators are Craig Mazin and Neil, yeah, that person, and Neil Druckmann. It stars the main cast that we follow throughout this journey is with 2 characters. Joel, played by Daddy Pedro Pascal, and Ellie, who's played by Bella Ramsey. Now, those are the 2 main characters that we follow throughout their journey, and all the other characters are kind of like our side characters, recurring characters, whatever have you. There's a trigger warning. There's a lot of sadness. This series is very depressing, but like in the greatest way possible. It's sad. And I haven't gone past episode 3 yet, but apparently it gets sadder. And I'm like, how can you get sadder than episode 3? But apparently you can.
It does.
And I'm just like, I'm not ready. Emotionally, I'm not ready. But we're gonna go on this magical journey together.
Are you familiar with the gameplay?
Yes, but Yes, but I know that some stuff has changed between the game and the show.
Yes.
So I wanna witness it in the show and not be told anything. Because I kind of know what's gonna happen next, but I want to see what changes they have done to it. Because episode 3, they changed a lot. And honestly, I like it better than the game for that part, for those characters. The way that character played, the way that character relationship played out. But that's just me. I love that they're taking liberties with the game as far as like adding stuff or changing some things. Because so far in the first 3 episodes anyway, it's been good. But again, that's me. So who wants to start episode 1?
Oh, okay. I guess I will do it. So wait. Okay, first episode 1, titled "When You're Lost in the Darkness." We begin by opening up on a talk show in the late 1960s, talking to a couple epidemiologists, Newman and Schoenheist, and they're basically talking about, viruses are probably the most dangerous forms of organisms. They cause the most danger to humans, or viruses, and one of them's of course agreeing, but the other scientist says, no, it's not. It's the fungus. Basically, that there's no treatment to prevent or cure fungal infection, I guess. But the other scientist kind of is refuting that, saying that, well, there's been no fungus that's been able to adapt to a human body temperature to be able to survive in human bodies. They can't survive in that kind of heat, I guess. And so basically the other scientist poses the idea that, what if the fungus needs to adapt, and because of climbing temperatures, global warming, so it begins to be able to stand hotter conditions, which it means that they're able to infect humans, and then what do we do then?
We're fucked. That's what we do.
Yeah. So, fast forward to 2003 in Austin, Texas. We are shown the 14-year-old Sarah, what's their last name? Sarah and Joel.
Does Joel ever get a last
Joel
name?
Miller.
Miller?
Yeah,
Miller.
So Sarah Miller is waking up, getting ready for school, waking up her dad, and she kind of complains that is she the one that complains that there's no flour for pancakes? I think she is.
His daughter, yeah.
And so she just made eggs, and that comes important later. Becomes important later. So they she wakes up her dad, and she's saying how he needs to be home on time so that he can maybe pick up a cake for his birthday, because today is his birthday. He had forgotten, and so he's like, "Oh yeah, well, yeah, I'll be home by 9." And his brother walks in saying, "Oh well, uh, nothing here to eat. Help eat. Give for me to eat." And they're like, "Nope, guess not." And so they they head out. They're heading out for work and to drop off Sarah. Sarah does take a little bit of money from her dad's stash before leaving the house, though. Um, but on the way out, they run into their neighbor, who was it's an older couple with taking care of, I guess, one of their parents, their mother. And the guy is feeding the older woman a biscuit, and talking about, "Oh well, when are you gonna come over, and do y'all want some biscuits for breakfast?" And and Joel's like, "No, I'm on what's the diet?
Atkins.
Atkins.
I'm on the Atkins diet.
What's that? Like the guy doesn't understand.
It's like, what is that?
It's just easier to go completely change the topic than elaborate than what that can start.
Sarah will tell you all about it when she comes over later."
And she's just like, I fucking hate you.
I love that. And so yeah, they take off. She goes to school. He goes to work. After she gets off school, she goes and gets a watch repaired in town. And as the watch is getting repaired, that's what she needed the money for. There's like stuff going on in the background, a whole bunch of sirens and police, helicopters, and stuff going on. And the wife of the store owner comes out, and she says, "Oh, well, you need to leave." And as she's saying this, like on the radio, I think they're talking about things happening in Jakarta, which also becomes important later. And so he fixes the watch. She leaves. She goes home. She's waiting for her dad, and it's late. It's getting dark, way past 9 o'clock. I think it's like 11 o'clock when he gets home. And I'm sorry, I missed a whole scene. So she actually goes, after she gets home from getting the watch fixed. She goes over to the next door neighbors, and she's like, "Oh, people got to get right with Jesus out there. People are going crazy." And
Is Jesus sure gonna save you?
yeah. And so she gets ready to make some oatmeal raisin cookies.
Love oatmeal raisin cookies.
They're so good. I always get sad when people are like, I hate oatmeal raisin. And I was like, who hurt you in your life?
You just haven't had a good one. It's fine.
Exactly.
I guess. And so, meanwhile, the older kind of grandma that's spacing out, doing some weird shit in the background. It's kind of not focused in on her. It's a pretty great shot that Sarah's looking through the movies to borrow a movie for her dad for his birthday, and in the background, the old lady's in the back, and you see her mouth like start to just like get super like what's the word,
Unhinged.
Unhinged. Yeah.
Kind of like she's trying to be a snake.
And the dog is the best actor too in this.
I know, the best doggo.
The best boy.
What was it, Mercy, right? I think that was the dog's name. And
Gosh.
so the dog's kind of freaking out, and Sarah notices this, but she leaves anyways. and she goes and waits for her dad at home. Her dad shows up. He's late. He forgets the cake, and so they sit and watch the movie that she borrowed from the neighbor. She falls asleep. They both fall asleep, but his brother, what's his brother's name?
I think it's Thomas.
Tommy.
Tommy. Yeah. Calls from jail saying, "Oh, some dude freaked out, and I tried to stop him, and they just arrested me or whatever. And so, can you come bail me out? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to stay in here until Monday because it's Friday night." And so, yeah, he goes. He puts Sarah in bed. Joel puts Sarah in bed, and takes off. Sarah wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's the shelter in place thing going off on the TV,
Mm-hmm.
and whole bunch of helicopters and stuff going on. Uh, the dog ends up coming up to the back window, and she goes and she tries to take the dog back to the neighbor's house. The dog refuses. Mercy just takes off, leaving the collar behind, and so she goes inside to see why the door's open to the front to the neighbor's house. And yeah, she slips on some blood. The neighbors are being eaten by the older mother, who has weird little tendril things coming out of her mouth. Yeah, yeah. And she's gnawing on open wounds that, and chases after Sarah. As Sarah gets out, Joel drives up with his brother. Tommy has a rifle, and Joel gets I think, what is it, a wrench or a crowbar or something, and just beats the crap out of the grandma chasing Sarah.
I think it was a monkey wrench.
That's probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was big.
And so they drive off, and down the road, they're trying to get away from everything, and they drive into the little town. I don't know what it's called, actually. I don't know. And chaos is ensuing. Houses on fire, people just screaming, attacking each other in the streets. They aren't really able to drive through really well with the truck. And then they try to back out as a movie theater is like being like gushing out with people and getting attacked and whatever. And as they're backing up, they noticed an airplane coming towards them. Yeah, so they try to drive forward, and they get just out of the way, kind of, where the airplane crashes right behind them and causes them to kind of crash too. Everyone's pretty much fine except for Sarah. She breaks her ankle or something like that. Joel gets Sarah, and Tommy's on the other side of the truck when they get separated, and Joel has to run through the streets carrying Sarah as he is able to escape a few of the. Do they have a name? The zombies, or the what? Like, what do we call them? Like,
I don't think there is a name.
They're mainly just like infected.
Yeah, they
infected.
just call them infected.
They used to be called James and Jillian, but now they're just infected. They don't have names. They're not recognized as people anymore.
Wow, based on Yip. Okay.
James and Lillian.
And Jill and Barbara.
And
Fuck
Patrick
Barbara.
and Just Rick.
Fuck Barbara.
Fuck that. And fuck Karen.
Karen.
Disclaimer: we don't have a problem with people named Karen, just people who act like Karen. Next.
Yeah. And so Joel runs into a soldier who stops him, and he calls it in. And he's like, "Oh, there's a guy and his little girl, and she's hurt her ankle or whatever." And he's like, "What? Are you sure? Okay." And so he shoots him, and he's like, "I'm sorry." And then Tommy comes to the rescue, shoots the soldier, but turns out that yeah, Sarah got shot in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a pretty touching scene of Joel
trying to like keep her alive.
Yeah, it's just not working though. So,
Mm-mm.
as she dies in his arms, they flash forward 20 years to 2023. Yeah, so now Joel is living in Boston, Massachusetts, kind of taking care of he's doing a job of disposing of dead bodies that they're burning in the streets. Um,
Fun.
one of them is of a child, and he can tell he's kind of just dead inside as he kind of carries it to the pyre that they're creating.
Yeah, like that
And
scene where the kid is just walking up, and then that doctor's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they scan her, and it's like the little red icon that just basically says, "Yep, they're infected." Like,
yeah,
okay, I'm just gonna give you this shot. It's gonna tickle a little bit, or it's gonna sting, and then later you just see them in the drug. Like, oh, they got euthanized.
yeah.
Mm.
It's fucked.
Poor baby.
Uh, Meanwhile, we get introduced to the new um, Federal Disaster Response Agency, or FEDRA, the government that's taking over the quarantine zones that is setting up, I guess, this world. And we're also introduced to Joel's new partner, Tess, who is she's being held captive, right, by that one dude and his teenage punks or whatever.
Well,
'Cause
Yeah.
I don't think they're teenage punks, but it's supposed to be like a business partner in a way, like
Yes, some guy named Robert.
okay.
yeah,
And like his men like beat her up for some fucking reason.
It's over a truck
okay,
battery.
truck battery, yeah.
Oh, she was trying to buy the truck battery.
No, they had already bought the truck battery, and he owed it to her, but he sold it to someone else.
But like his men beat her up.
Yeah,
That's why I
there's
was just like, what was the motivation behind that? It never explains. Like, oh, they fucked up and they beat her up for what?
What was the reason?
What was the reason?
don't know. So, as she's about to get executed, there is an explosion from a firefly attack. Fireflies are a group of rebels in
Freedom
the
fighters.
freedom fighters in the quarantine zones that are trying to take control instead of Fedra. She gets mistaken as a firefly, so she gets under arrest. She goes under arrest for under Fedra. Meanwhile, Joel is selling drugs to one of the Fedra guards, soldiers, and he's looking for. Oh, he goes to the radio station, right, and sees whether or not his brother has left him any word over the radio. But he hasn't. He hasn't heard anything from his brother for like 2 years or something like that. 2 years,
Yeah.
and so he goes home. He gets drunk, passes out. Tess shows up. She passes out because I guess she gets let go, and so she explains to Joel when they wake up that what happened to the battery that they were supposed to get, and they're gonna go figure out where dude went with the battery and get it back, hopefully, and their money. And so call in a few favors, and they're able to find the place. Oh, this is when we get introduced to Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
So Ellie is chained up to a wall, and you're not really sure who's keeping her
There yet.
there yet. Yeah, and she is brought food, right? And they want her. They're testing her by making her hold her hand out and count all the way to 10 slowly.
And to recite her name.
Right.
But I
Because
think it was
she
a
got-
fake name.
Yeah, I guess she got bit, and they're waiting for her to turn, but she's not turning.
Yeah. No signs of turning after like a couple days, I think.
And they're like, "That's suspicious."
That's weird.
Because they had like a sign or something that actually showed how fast you should turn if you're bit in certain areas of your body.
Yeah,
I think the longest was like the leg, and it's like 12 hours at most, or something like
I
that.
have questions about that. Since it's believed that the foot is maybe evolved from fungi, wouldn't that be one of the first things that would go? Seeing it's so related to fungus.
what?
Like, I
Foot
guess
fungus, yeah.
yes.
Oh, you're talking about because the feet can get a
Mhm.
fungal
They're more
infection.
prone to it.
Yeah.
Then I guess because it attacks the brain first, that goes first, and then it just works its way down. So maybe that just makes more sense.
Probably.
This is a light nitpick. It has no bearing on our opinion on the show. It just
It's
makes
what
me
it's.
think.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, do I look too much into that?
Makes sense to me. So they what do they do? Oh, so they find a passageway into the building where the meet is supposed to happen, and it turns out it's a Firefly building where Marlene, the leader of of this sector of Fireflies, is kind of taking charge of Ellie, and she tells her that she has a secret and that she has to not share it with anyone she doesn't trust. And I don't think that you're told what the secret is, but it's implied. She lets Ellie go. She gives Ellie back her knife, and I guess they were going to get the truck battery from the guy, but somebody shot. I don't remember how that went down. I guess they shot each other, or Fedra showed up.
I think what happened is like one of them might have been infected and just started attacking, and then they all just end up shooting each other.
No, okay.
Because you see Robert with a bullet wound in his head, and it's like, well, that's what happened to him. Because I don't think he died in that bomb blast. He got away.
Yeah. So they Joel and Tess come across Marlene, who is injured, and Marlene and her, I guess,
Her right hand woman.
yeah,
Her second in command.
seconding, yeah,
To make
works.
it easier.
Like, we don't know what the name is. Like, second in
Yeah.
command.
Are both injured pretty badly, and they're like they're asking Joel to take charge of Ellie and take her to Massachusetts State House in exchange for supplies. And Joel and Tess aren't really trusting of the Fireflies, and I like how the second in command's like, are you sure we can still do it? You're missing a fucking ear.
And it shows the ear, like, oh, she's right.
Yeah.
I was just like, ow.
So yeah, that's why I had to throw in the whole. I love that little line. Anyways, so Joel and Tess accept it, the condition or whatever, and they're like, they want guns and a truck and whatever they need to get to Oregon, right? That's where his brother is supposed to be. I think
Somewhere in Wyoming. I
So
Wyoming. I think you're
Scrolling.
We're scrolling through other people's notes.
Scrolling. Yeah. Scrolling. No,
Scrolling.
Not important. We will
Scrolling.
figure it out later. I think Wyoming is right though.
Oh my gosh, where would it be? I know that they mention it.
When he goes to speak to the guy with the radio. Um. Anyway, so they are able to get out of the quarantine zone, and although they do run into the
Wyoming.
Gotcha. They run into one of the Fedra soldiers that he was dealing drugs to, and that guy decides he wants to now do his job, and uh,
Now.
decides to
I'll do
scan them. Yeah, to scan them for infection, and once you know it, Ellie is infected, and so they freak out. Joel keeps him from shooting her, and he starts to flashback to when Sarah gets shot, and so he beats the shit out of that dude. I think he ends up killing him, and yeah, Ellie swears that she's been bitten for weeks at this point, and so they just have to get out of there. And so they do. They run, and that's the end of the first episode.
We kind of glossed over a couple of key points.
Which ones?
Yeah, Tess is having her little meeting, and then there's that one guy that walks up to Joel, and he's like, if you're ever in the darkness, he's like, if you tell him to look at the light, I will break your fucking jaw. He's like, all right, walk away.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also the code in his magazine that says 60s. It's like 60, nothing in, 70, new stock, and 80, X. And then it's playing what sounds like 80s music. And then Joel's just like, oh, shit. And then Ellie gets the clue, just like, oh, X means trouble. Code broken. And in the end of the episode, it plays a song from 1987. I don't recognize it. It just sounds like an 80s song. I was like,
Never
oh.
Let Me Down Again.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, it's basically like, yep, y'all in some deep shit now.
And I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of episode 1. And that's a long episode. It's
81 minutes.
yes.
Yeah,
It's almost a movie unto itself.
pretty much.
I mean, pretty much it really is. So who wants to go and review the second one?
I could cover episode 2,
Work.
and then
Okay.
one of the other two that haven't gone can do episode 3.
I can do episode 3.
Okay.
Are you going to be able to handle episode 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If any of y'all get emotional, we'll have to be like, this is what Zio or was saying. And then we'll be like,
You hear me in the background? Wah.
I
put
love
Zio in a ambulance.
Wah.
Sing to the car.
I love how the thing that's at the top of like this article is the following contains spoilers for episode 2, and I'm like, I would hope so.
I would hope so.
That's why I looked you up.
Anyway.
All right, so it's pretty much established that Ellie is likely the only person who is immune to this fungal infection, which they refer to as the cordyceps infection, because of the strain of fungus it's from. And mainly, as we've also established, they got to carry Ellie over to a base over on the west side of America in Wyoming. Is that correct, or is it?
No.
Oh,
So
Wyoming is where the radio tower is, but where's
Wyoming,
this other place?
Wyoming is where Tommy is.
Okay.
Or the last they heard from Tommy was in Wyoming. I'm trying to remember exactly where. Hold on.
Actually, this episode starts with what happens in Jakarta.
Yes.
I completely forgot.
So, let's see. It just says that she needs to be transported to another group of fireflies that's out west, and out west is where like doctors and stuff are.
Okay, so it's kind of vague, but there's a destination in mind, and that's all we need to know.
Yeah, because I'm trying to read. I'm reading it now. It doesn't say anything. It just says Marlene now doesn't have transportation or a group of fireflies to protect Ellie, but she knows Joel and Tess are capable of it. If they can get Ellie to the old state house that's up west or down west to meet with the fireflies, they will give them everything they need: a truck, guns, supplies, etc., etc. And after a quick debate, they agreed to transport Ellie. But if the Fireflies don't get them everything they need, they will kill Ellie. That was the agreement.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Now, as for where the second episode officially begins, it's
Yeah.
September 24th, 2003. It's in Jakarta, Indonesia. And there's this lady named Ibu Ratna,
Mm-hmm.
played by Christine Hakim. She's a professor of mycology at the University of Indonesia. And she's just eating food at a restaurant, and then these police officer looking people show up, and they immediately have her taken away. And she's like, "Am I under arrest?" They're like, no, you haven't done anything wrong, but we need you to come look at this.
Yeah, am I in trouble for something?
Yeah, they also apologize for her lunch. She's like, "It's okay, I was just finishing anyway."
What a nice lady.
Yeah. But she shows up back at the university, and a specimen slide has been prepared. And she looks at it, and she states like, "Yeah, that is cordyceps, but why is it taken on this kind of slide? Because it's only meant for human samples." And they're like, "That is a human sample. It came from a human."
And she's like,
And she's
what?
like, "Pardon? Excuse me?
Huh?
What do you mean?"
Yeah, and then they take her to where the sample was taken, which is like, kind of looks like a morgue. I don't know if it's in the same building, but it's probably in the same building. Just easy transportation. But
She's wearing biohazard clothing while
yeah,
she goes
she's
into the...
decked out in all of the anti-contamination suit.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, you're gonna go in there by yourself and take a closer look at this body that we hope is dead, considering that there's a bullet wound in its head."
Mhm.
And she cuts open part of it with her scalpel.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And then she does examine like the little tendrils inside the mouth. And then as soon as they start moving back, it's like, "Oh, no. She drops everything. She's like, "Get out of there now."
She's like, "Fuck this shit, I'm out."
Mm-hmm. And then she's sitting in that one room, just given tea by one of the officers. And it's like, "Okay, so what do we do about this infection?" And she's like, "There's no medicine. There's no vaccine. You're going to have to bomb the city."
Just bomb it. Just get rid of it.
Yep. "Don't tell anyone. Just blow it up. By the way, I have to go and say goodbye to my friends and family. Or at least her family.
Yeah.
I want to spend time with my
Damn.
loved ones." And they also explained that like this incident happened, like this person who got shot bit somebody. Multiple people. Over 14 people were involved in this. And it took place in like a flour and granary facility. Meaning this stuff could spread and reach other countries and their food supply. And then people who eat enough of this food supply could also become infected.
Oh.
It's kind of like
no.
saying, "Hey, this all originated in Jakarta," but it wasn't like on purpose. It just, no one knows exactly
It just
who
formed.
patient zero is.
Yeah, it just happened to be the spot where the fungi is like, "You know what? Let's just like be spicy and go to a human." Oh my god, I'm crazy, y'all.
This is a great place to chill out.
It's a little warm in here.
Like we also grace over the fact that she asked, like, "Hey, like if this person bit someone else, where's the person that bit this person?"
Yeah,
And they're like, "We don't know."
Yes, that's the most frightening part. Like,
And
we
I'm
don't know who
like-
patient zero is.
I'm like, excuse me?
I'm gonna squeeze you. You better find them.
It's like, you better find this motherfucker. Shoot everyone. Just shoot everyone.
Actually, just nuke it. Just nuke the fucking city.
Firebomb.
Nuke it all.
Fireball.
Gone. Deceased. We're dead.
Fireball.
Fireball.
Spreads
Only
to other
fireball.
countries. Like, "Oh no, we gotta bomb those cities too."
Just bomb the
I mean,
world.
they
You know,
did.
just burn it all to the ground. Start all over.
either superheat the world or bring in another ice age.
Oh God. Freeze them where they can't spread.
Make it like Texas in 2021.
Oh God. Oh no.
That's too much.
Oh
Bring that back.
no. Don't
What do
bring
you
that
mean?
back.
There was like nothing happening. Like there was no lockdown.
I know, but also there was also no electricity.
They're talking about the winter storm,
Oh, bleh.
not the winter freeze.
I mean, I can't relate. I'm on the bases, like the Air Force bases grid, so my power didn't go out. I had frozen pipes for a minute, but no power went out.
Yeah, it was
Thankfully.
mainly power and water troubles.
Thankfully, I was blessed.
I hate you.
Oh, sucks to be you.
Sucks to be me.
But back on track, we do return to Ellie. She's asleep in an abandoned building, and then Joel's keeping an eye on her. And Tessa also keeping an eye on her. Because, they don't trust each other quite yet.
Of course.
Ellie wakes up, and Joel's pointing a gun at her.
She's like, I gotta take a piss.
And it's like, okay, there's a room back there. You could go and do your business, and here's a magazine.
Is
the
there
magazine.
is there anything dangerous back there?
Just you.
Ha ha.
Like, huh. Yeah, pretty much, ha ha, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's disagreement between Joel and Tess. Like, Joel's just like, this isn't worth it. I just want to go back to the quarantine zone. And then Tess goes, no. This could be the best way to get the supplies that Marlene promised us.
Tess is a real one.
She is.
She a baddie.
All right. And there's a little bit of exposition while they're walking on their way to their destination, where it's like a lot of the major cities were bombed to help stop the spread. And it did work in Boston, but it didn't work in most places. And then they're having what I like to call Lord of the Rings Minds of Moria moment, where it's like you want to go the shorter way, which is dangerous, or the long way, which is more likely safe.
And they're like, I vote the long way just by that information.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love Ellie's quips, dude.
Yeah, Ellie's character kind of matches that of the game, just her personality at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that she does note is like, I've never been outside the wall, and I've always heard there's like swarms of infected everywhere. And to her credit, there isn't really any that you see immediately. But then after you hear one of the cries of one, it's like, oh, you don't see them, but they're around. And Ellie tells Tess that she got bit because she had snuck into an old mall that was in one of the quarantine zones.
And she's like, you mean the boarded up one that no one is allowed to go into?
Yes, of course.
And you went alone?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, the ball's on you.
So look at the balls on you. Let's see, gotta scroll down a little bit. They make their way through a flooded hotel. And this is where Ellie gets her imagination going into check, because there's that little concierge desk. And she just does that whole little bit of like, hello, are you checking in? Yes, I am. Just does that bit, and then like the skeleton just shows up out of the water. It's like, whoa! So it's like a lighthearted comedy moment, then immediately spook.
Who got caught with that jump scare?
I saw it coming.
I mean, I saw it coming too, but it still got me. I was like, ah!
I think I was mildly startled. I was like, oh, I didn't expect that.
I was like, ew, gross.
Disgusting.
No, don't lock on me, please.
And so they keep climbing up the many floors of the hotel, and their path is blocked by rubble. And then they're like, Ellie, you could probably go there because you're smaller. And then it's like, no. Tess volunteers to go up instead. So that leaves Joel and Tess to just talk about themselves briefly, but they also are still really defensive. Like, Joel tells Ellie that he's from Texas, and Tess is from Detroit, which is in Michigan. It's like, I know where Michigan is. I know where Detroit is.
I went to school.
Yeah, like Ellie explains that she went to school, but they didn't learn everything.
Oh yeah, because like he says something, and she goes, "What the fuck is that?" And he goes, "I thought you went to school."
Exactly. It's like, yeah. It's like today's American education system.
Oh,
I mean,
not wrong.
I didn't even learn where Detroit was whenever I was in school.
Really?
Yeah. You want to
What
know
the
what
French toast?
my geography teacher made us do? The racist bastard. He made us color maps. That's all we did was
Mm,
color maps and watch videos about different people's culture. That's what we did the entire year.
mm,
Yeah, it's pretty much geography education in America sometimes. Yeah, there's still countries that I like notice. I'm like, I never even heard of this place.
yeah. Same.
Fascinating. And then oh yeah, Joel explains how long infected creatures typically live. And usually it's like about a month or two, but some have been around for as long as 20 years, like ever since the very beginning. And then Ellie asked Joel, like, have you ever had a hard time killing any infected? And he's like, sometimes. Was it hard to kill the Fedra guard? But he doesn't quite
No.
answer it. But you can tell having to kill someone who isn't infected was not easy. And don't mean by how hard it is to beat someone to death with a fist. I'm just talking moralistically.
Morally.
Yes. And then Tess comes back and is like, okay, I found a way. Here's the door. Put your gun down, Joel. And then they make it to this balcony where there's lots of crawling infected on the ground. And they're writhing in the sunlight. And they're like, oh no, we're not going that way. Oh yeah, Tess mentions that like if you had come into contact with the fungus underground, then any of these infected that are nearby to where the fungus is connected will pretty much know instantly where you are. It's like a network of nerves underground that's connected to every living infected that's on the surface.
I mean, that makes sense. That's with the way fungus works.
Mm-hmm.
Mushrooms and stuff.
And because there's so many infected and there's too much of a risk of like stepping on one of these exposed fungal nerves, I guess, they're like, okay, let's try the shorter route. Let's go through the mines of Moria or to the museum. And so they make their way to this museum and they find that the door is partly, I think that's where they find the door is partly open, but it's also got a lot of dried fungus on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's dried fungus. So they're like, they kick it and touch it and they're like, okay, so even if they make contact with this, nothing would approach them because it's dried out. They also find a freshly killed man who's been ripped apart. He's stuck away in a corner. And they haven't noticed anything inside, but then they're like, okay, instead of being quiet, we're going to be silent. Okay. And so they opt to be silent. And they move their way through the museum. And then they run into their first clicker.
Ooh.
And it really does look like the game's version of the clicker. And it has that same feeling of fear, like don't make a sound or it's going to find you and kill you.
Dun dun dun.
And I think pretty much all of them make a noise at some point. Like Joel steps on glass or Ellie drops something and it's just like, damn it. I told you to be silent. So
Thought Ellie
naturally,
like breathed too loud.
I'm not sure if breathing was enough to get their attention. Unless it's like really heavy breathing.
Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, the point is there's two of these things and there's a bit of a shootout, but they're taken care of. No one gets hurt that we immediately see. Oh yeah, Ellie does get bit again, but it's in the same spot as her old bite, and nothing happens to her. She doesn't seem to make a change. But they are concerned that maybe the second bite will change within a day.
Maybe. Probably not.
But they eventually get outside of the building to where the fireflies, I think, are they're supposed to be. There's a truck outside. It's supposed to be where they're supposed to meet up with the fireflies, but everyone's gone or dead.
And
Yeah, and they're in the state house, and that's where like there's a meeting of people. There's all these supplies, and everyone's dead. So it's like, great, we can't get our supplies. So what do? Just turn around?
of
I
course
guess
not.
we go the other way.
Is it the third way that was never brought up?
What? Couldn't be me.
No, but Joel's like, it's over. We're gonna go. And the Tess like, no. We made it this far. I want to find some answers. And then it occurs as like, oh, Tess, could you remove part of your shirt? Just
Oh no.
you're bit, aren't you? And she exposes her shoulder and is like, yep, she's bit. Okay, when did this happen? And it's pretty much back at the last encounter. But she's like, got an idea. You take Ellie with you to, I suppose, further west.
I think take her to Bill and Frank.
Oh, yes, Bill and Franks.
Yeah.
Taking to Bill and Franks. Maybe they can help out. Meanwhile, she starts opening up these barrels that have gasoline in them. She starts kicking them over. And she's like, I'm going to do a last stand. Got this lighter with me. And I think it's at this point, one of them accidentally hits an exposed fungal nerve. And so that alerts a lot of these infected that are nearby.
Yeah.
And Joe looks outside. He's like, oh, they're all coming this way. Holy shit. Okay, what are we going to do? And
Tess is like, guess I'll just die now.
it's like, I guess I'll just
die.
I guess you'll just have to be prepared to die. Yeah, Joel takes Ellie and they just run. And then Tess stays there. All the infected, most of which can't see because they don't notice her right away. But then one of them that can see, it's like, you. He just spots her, like, you're alive. Like, pins her, trying to bite her with those tendrils out the mouth, which is creepy. And she's just struggling to light the lighter. And then finally gets it lit, drops it, and then the whole building just goes boom. Explodes.
And it's kind of sad because, like, you can tell that Joel and Tess had something there.
Well,
like,
she said, I never asked you to return the feelings. So I'm pretty sure it was like one-sided. He did care for her, but she cared for him a lot more.
That's not the way I read it. I mean, the games maybe, but in the show, I'm like,
no,
I think he did care for her in that way, but he just didn't show it for whatever reason. Probably because they're all gonna die. So why get attachment to somebody?
Well, that's how I read it that way because of what she said. Because that's what she said in the show. I'm not going based off the video game. I'm going based off of what she said in the show, which was, I never asked you to return the feelings. I haven't asked you for this. I've done everything like this for you. I'm just asking for this one thing.
Yes.
Like so I'm sure like he does care for her, but not as much as she cares for him. That's how I read it. Anyway.
But yeah, that pretty much ends the episode. Where the building blows up and we're like, well, I guess we're really going to do this. I'm like, I know they visit like a convenience store briefly, but I think that's in the first part of episode 3. Because he's like looking for stuff that's stashed away. But I will leave that to our next person to introduce and talk about episode 3.
So, the dreaded episode 3.
Oh, you say it's dreaded.
It's dread and loveliness, because it's a fantastic love story between two people, but nonetheless. So episode 3 begins with Joel by a river piling up rocks, a series of rocks, to basically make kind of like a gravestone kind of for Tess.
Yeah.
And then Joel and Ellie are about 10 miles or so west of like Boston. And they are ready. Of course, by this point, they experience a lot of loss between Tess and just struggle and just, it has not been a good time. It's not a good vacation for them. So it's been a trying times for them. From there, of course, Joel is giving Ellie the silent treatment, of course, because he lost Tess. Until then, Ellie mentions the fact that no one forced Joel and Tess to escort her across the country. Because I guess Ellie is kind of getting the impression that he might have blamed, this. If we didn't have to take this girl across the country, Tess wouldn't have died. But of course, Ellie's just like, it's not my fault. I didn't tell you to do it. So there's a little moment for that. So Joel shouldn't obviously blame her for mistake for all that. Joel silently nods as he admits what Ellie is addressing is correct. It's not her fault that Joel decided to, hey, let's go across the country. Let's just go. Because wasn't it Joel's idea to do that? Or because Joel wanted to find his brother?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but because Ellie was kind of just on the way. So,
It's like, Ellie, you're a convenient escort quest, but my main quest is to find my brother.
Yeah. And then, of course, Ellie asks Joel, how much longer until they get to Bill and Frank? And Joel mentions that it's about a 5-hour hike. Oh, God, hiking kill me now.
I love hiking.
Yes, but not no 5 hours. Just kill me if the apocalypse happens. Ugh. My calves would look like would be crafted by a god, but I don't want to deal with all that. So, on the walk, Ellie asks Joel about a scar near the temple of his head. Temple on his head. Joel tells her that someone shot him and missed. And he says that he got shot and he shot back at them and missed too. And Ellie, of course, talks about how she should probably have a gun.
No.
And Joel's like, no.
Every time she asks, it's like, nope.
Nope. Mm-mm. And then the two enter a gas station where Joel says he's left some things stashed away. And as he's looking for this stash, Ellie talks about how she wishes she could play the broken Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine she found inside. And then continues to explore the gas station on her own while Joe's looking for a stash. Ellie ends up finding a back door to the basement where she finds an infected trapped under a pile of rubble. Ellie pulls out her switchblade and gently cuts open its forehead to see what's inside before she stabs him in the head. She finds like the little tendrils that come out and then she stabs it and kills it. Joel finds his stash and leaves his gun with no ammo behind while Ellie doesn't tell Joel about the incident that happened downstairs. So she keeps that to herself. And then as they keep walking, they see a plane crash, which is kind of fucking weird to think about. You see a plane crashed, wreckage, and Ellie asks about Outbreak Day and how the world basically fell apart. Joel says that no one knows for sure how the outbreak happened, but best guess is that the core sets mutated. Obviously, with the global warming, they were able to withstand temperatures, and bada bing, bada boom, started infecting people outside of just insects and just insects. And that, of course, they got into the food supply, sugar, flour, and if a person ate it enough, they would get infected with it. And the tainted food, hitting stores around the world at once. And then it wouldn't take long for them to get infected. And then they started biting. And then just a few days, the world was basically just destroyed. It basically kind of just ended the world pretty much, or the world as they knew it. Joel then tries to get them to take a shortcut to avoid something that Ellie shouldn't see. but naturally Ellie wants to see it. And then she goes over and she finds a pile of human bones, many of which have luggage around them. Joel then explains about after a week after the outbreak, soldiers swept through the countryside, basically destroying towns, and told people they were moving to a quarantine zone if there was room. And if there wasn't room, the people were likely the people who likely weren't sick were killed and left there. So yeah, it gets a little dark, because they basically just pile up people and just kill them because they have no room for them, and they're just going to get infected anyway, so might as well just do the job now. It's real fucked up. So, and of course, Ellie had to be curious, and she had to go over and look. And when Ellie asks why would they do this, Joel answers with dead people can't get infected.
True.
So that's dark-sided, yeah. And then the episode does a time skip backwards. Jumps back to
Outbreak Day. Or
what?
Shortly after Outbreak Day.
Yeah, shortly after Outbreak Day. So it jumps back to one such town.
27th?
No, the 30th.
The 30th.
30th.
It jumps back to a group of soldiers gathering at a town on September 30th, 2023. Not 2023, 2003. Oh my God. As everyone is loaded into trucks, we see a house covered in cameras and a man inside watching the monitors underground as everyone is being escorted out of the town. This person hears soldiers above him in his basement, and he grabs a gun just in case. Yeah, the soldiers don't find him, and they continue hauling people out of the town. But they kind of just leave him alone. So we see that this man is in a doomsday prepper's basement, bunkered, covered in guns. He's basically a survivalist. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I saw him and I was like, it's Ron Swanson. Like, that's all I see him as is Ron Swanson.
Right.
But he is, dude, this guy is literally just Ron Swanson in this as well.
So this man is armed to the teeth, and his name is Bill. I love Bill. Bill's so great. So Bill has been apparently preparing for this moment for years, because he's one of those guys. And he makes the most of that time. He steals a boat, gas from the local gas station, takes supplies from the boarded up Home Depot, breaks in a natural gas plant, gets power back to his place, grabs several boxes of wine from a local winery, and gets his own generator working.
I love this guy.
Right? He's resourceful as fuck. Bill gets to work fortifying a fence around this town, planting his own vegetables, raising his own animals. Bill sets himself up to eat a nice dinner that he prepared, made thanks to all his hard work that he did. And the meal seems it's almost out of place, because a meal like this that he made shouldn't be possible with the post-apocalyptic world that he's in. But this man has been working overtime. So he, of course, eats his food, watches the monitors on his cameras around the town, so he keeps a better eye on everything, as well as the town is booby-trapped. Traps everywhere. This man is just like, I'm going to live, but it's just going to be me. And then we jump 4 years later in 2007. Bill is still on his own, thriving in his little town, when he gets a notification that something is stuck in a hole outside his fence. When Bill goes out to investigate with his gun, he points his gun towards the hole and finds out that a person is inside, states, "I'm not infected."
I love him.
And of course, he's not armed. The man says that he was trying to make it to Boston, and that his group started with 10 people, and that he was the only one left. He came from the Baltimore QZ, which is now gone, by the way. Bill lets the man out of the hole, checks with a device to see if this man is infected, and at gunpoint, points in the direction of Boston, but the stranger says he hasn't eaten in 2 days and introduces himself as Frank. Bill feeds him, and everyone he tells about his base. So yeah, Bill says that he'll feed him. Everyone he tells about his free meal will come looking for a handout. Yet Bill eventually finds compassion from Frank and brings him back to the house. Because initially he's like, yeah, if I give you a free meal, you're going to go tell everybody else, and they're going to come knocking on my door. And I don't fucking want that. But Frank, being as charismatic as he is, eventually Bill lets Frank into his house and feeds him, gets him a shower, fresh clothes, all that. Frank is taking a warm shower. Bill brings him some clothes. Frank is extremely gracious for the shower, and Bill looks at the closet bathroom door as he has forgotten the joys of another person, being with another person outside of just himself. Later on, Bill and Frank share a meal that Bill prepared, and as the meal is of course extortionate. It's the greatest meal that Frank has probably had in a long ass time. Of course, Frank is full of joy, and he can't believe that this such fine dining still possible in this world. But of course, it's Bill. So, as Frank enjoys the meal, Bill pours him some wine. This wine is shown throughout this episode, and you can actually buy it in stores. Fun fact: it's an actual, not a wine made for the show, but it's an actual like wine out in the world you can go buy. So Frank notes that Bill knows what wine to pair with the rabbit that he cooked, and I guess Frank is impressed by that. From there, it kind of establishes that Frank kind of understands Bill more than most people or really anyone has in quite a long time. Of course, this is the first person Frank has that Bill has seen in quite a while. So, and they're kind of getting very friendly with each other. After the dinner, Frank thanks his host and says should get going. But first, Frank goes to the other room to find a piano, where he says he's been eyeing all night. As Frank looks through the music sheet Bill seems unnerved throughout all that, because of course he's like, oh shit, there's a person in my house. They're messing with my stuff. I don't know how I feel about it. Because Frank is just, I love Frank and Bill. Sorry, Bill's just kind of unnerved. I love Frank and Bill so much. So Frank says the music he finds isn't Bill's, but so they start. Let's see. They find a collection of Linda Ronstadt. How do you say her last name? Ronstadt songs, and states, "This is you." And Frank begins to play and sing "Long, Long Time." Gay. But Bill stops him and stops him when he keeps playing the wrong notes and singing off key. And Frank says he'll go as soon as Bill plays the song correctly. So they have their little moment playing their song. Frank looks on, genuinely moved by this man's performance. Frank asks who the girl is that Bill is singing about. And Bill says, there is no girl. And Frank puts his arm around him and says, I know. And they tenderly kiss. A moment of intimacy that Bill was not planning on, and Bill hasn't had in quite some time. It leaves Frank crying and Bill almost shaking with joy. Bill finally introduces himself to Frank because he hasn't told him his name this whole time. And Bill and Frank then go take a shower. And when Bill comes out of the shower, Frank is already in bed waiting for him. Frank takes off of Bill's towel, and the two lay together, and they get intimate. I was like, Oh my god! Oh my god! Gay. Just this episode's full. Just gay. Bill admits that he's never done this before with a man, but that he has sex with a woman, but it's been a very long time. Frank says he'll start with simple things as he climbs on top of Bill. And well, basically, yeah, they have sex. They fuck, you know? Then the two gently hold each other as Frank. Yeah, they're in bed. They enjoy each other's company, get very intimate with each other. And of course, Bill, you can kind of see Bill's heart grow a few sizes that day. So from there, then we cut to 3 years later after that, so about 2010. Frank and Bill live in the house together. The two are seen fighting after Frank asks for some paint and a little gas for the lawnmower. And because Frank wants to paint the house, fix some of the shops, generally make their streets nicer. As he says, paying attention to things is how we show love. Bill asks if there's going to be, they're going to start hosting formal garden parties. Frank responds with, no, of course not. But they are going to have friends and they will invite them to visit. And I'm just like, I love the optimism of Frank, like a lot. He's just keeping positive throughout all of this mess because he just wants friends, like really bad for the two. Bill says no to friends. Then Frank mentions that he's been talking to a nice woman on the radio. It turns out the woman that he's been talking to is Tess. And we see that Tess and Bill had invited her and Joel to their house. Bill with strict restrictions on inviting them over. They eat. Bill keeps his gun on the table, unnerved by strangers in his neighborhood. Of course, like he would. And Frank and Tess agreed that they'll be working together in the future, leaving Joel and Bill alone. Joel says he understands Bill's how Bill isn't like strangers around because honestly, can you really trust people in an apocalyptic situation? At least a situation like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
No.
And that doesn't go into the fact. I love how these. So it's a little side note. I love how these shows talk about apocalyptic situation where human will turn on human, but in reality, there have been studies that have shown that in a situation like this, people wouldn't turn on people like they show in zombie apocalypse situations or apocalyptic situations in general. So I love how there are modern day studies showing the opposite of what we see on like television and pop culture and stuff. Little fun tidbit for you all if you want to gain a little hope in humanity. So from there, as Bill and Joel are hanging out as their other halves or their partners or whatever, Tess and Joel are, as the other two are enjoying each other's company, hanging out. But Joel offered to help, be like, hey, we'll help each other out. There's stuff in the QZ they can get that will be beneficial for Bill and Frank. Bill mentions that he doesn't need help from Tess and Joel, but Joel does point out the faultiness of Bill's fence and says that he could get, Joel says he could get him supplies that will last him for the rest. He has enough supplies that last the rest of their lives. Or Bill tells Joel that. He's like, nah, I'm good. I got enough shit here to last us forever. Tess and Joel then leave after their little visit, and Frank mentions they should have a radio code, which you learn in, I guess, the radio code that they used back in episode 1. They mention it. While Joel tells Bill that even though their home is well protected, raiders will eventually come, and Bill's like, we'll be fine. So then from there, we jump to 3 more years later in 2013, and Bill has fortified the fence even more, piled up cars to make a blockade And Bill and Frank are jogging around the neighborhood, and Frank says he has a surprise. Frank has secretly planted a garden of strawberries, having traded with Joel and Tess one of Bill's guns for a pocket of seeds. The two toast to each other with their strawberries as Bill giggles with, I love how I put giggles with joy when he's enjoying the fruit with Frank. From there, they're basically kind of just enjoying this nice small little moments that they have. And Bill apologizes to Frank, saying he's getting older faster than he is, as Bill continues to say that he was never scared before Frank showed up. And I love that moment, that Bill is a hard ass. Hard as a rock. Nothing scares him. But when he finds somebody he cares about, when Frank came to the picture, he's afraid. He's not afraid until then. He's like, oh shit, I have a person here. What if I lose them? And it really, you really get to see the emotional side of Frank, which I just adore. He's just like, oh my God, his heart's like 3 sizes bigger than it was before. And of course, again, they have a moment, go to bed. It's rainy night. And then raiders show up Bill's gate. So raiders come up and start trying to break in. Bill's traps catch some of the men aflame. They catch him on fire. Like, this man, I don't know where the fuck he gets this tech and the supplies, but he has like flamethrowers and shit all along the fence line. So people are getting shot. They're bursting into flames, and it's just chaos. So Frank wakes up, but Bill's nowhere to be found. Frank grabs a gun and proceeds to go outside, where he finds Bill in the middle of the street shooting raiders with a sniper rifle. Bill gets shot, and Frank brings him inside. And at this moment, I was like, is this going to be it? Is this going to be the moment? If Bill going to die? I'm like, don't you fucking do it. Because I already knew that this story was obviously way different than the Bill and Frank in the game. Because the Bill and Frank in the game is they're not as happy together as the show is. I mean, Frank kills himself because he's tired of the insufferableness of Bill. So, but so yeah, dealing with raiders, Bill gets shot, brought back in, and thinking this is the end, Bill gives him details on how Frank will go on once he's gone. He's basically talking like he's dying. I'm dying. Frank treats the bullets, and then Bill tells Frank to call Joel. And of course, Joel will take care of him, as he can't stay here alone. But Frank says he's not going to be alone. You're going to be here with me. And that's a moment of that they experience real danger together. Bill is scared, but of course, Frank has a dedication to save Bill's life, which he does. Then we jump again to 10 years later. They lived long lives. I thought, because I was reading this thing, and it says, oh, they both men have gotten old and gayer. And I'm like, I mean, wouldn't you?
What part did they get gayer?
I saw grayer, but my mind went gayer.
I mean, they're both wearing like plaid shirts at this point.
Yeah.
So
I mean, plaid is a signature of gay. I mean,
like plaid, they're both like their hair is like well cut, and like, you know, they're taking very good care of themselves as best as they can, and like they're very I'm trying to think of the word, I can't think of it, but I'm like, oh yeah, they're gay.
Yeah. So let's jump 10 years later. They're at this point, they're much older than they were when we first met them back in 2007.
3.
Well, 3 with Bill, but Frank didn't come in until
7. Yeah.
Was it 7? Yeah, it was 7.
Yeah.
So by this point, Frank is in a wheelchair and very sick, and Frank has taken up painting, having completed these gorgeous pieces but this sickness makes it difficult for him to complete the work. And he's currently working on a portrait of Bill. Later at dinner, Frank is on a liquid diet and he takes quite a few pills, which I'm like, where's Bill getting these pills?
Getting
I was
them
like,
from,
probably trading with Joel
from
and
Joel.
Tess.
But where is he getting the pills?
Exactly, right?
Yeah, where do you get that hydrocodone in the first episode?
Right? So they have dinner and then Bill carries Frank to bed. And I'm like, oh, Frank is like not doing so hot, but Bill's still going to be there taking care of his man. And then we jump to probably the saddest fucking part of these 3 episodes. This is Frank's last day, literally. So the next morning when Bill wakes up, he sees that Frank has gotten himself into the wheelchair and Bill gets on him saying, don't do that. I'm here to help you. Don't do this type of stuff by yourself. Hello. And he's irritated with him because he doesn't want Frank falling asleep in his chair because it's not good for your legs. All the blood will rush to your feet. Frank states that he'll stay awake since he has decided that this is the last day that he will be alive. And I'm just like, oh my God, my heart, it's breaking. Oh no. So of course Bill's upset. Like you would. I mean, with your lover telling you, oh yeah, is this gonna be my last day? I'm going out by my own means. And Bill talks about how I can go find a doctor. And Frank is like, they didn't have a cure for this disease before the world ended. So what good would that do? And of course, Bill's just kind of like, he doesn't want to lose him. So they both have a moment, and Frank says that he's had a lot of bad days, but he's also had a lot of good days with Bill. More good days with Bill than anyone else. So he asks for one more good day with Bill. Frank says for his final day, he wants Bill to make him some toast. They'll go to the neighborhood boutique, which Frank fixed up during the years that he's been there. He picks out an outfit for both of them, and then they'll get married. Oh, they'll get married. I'm the only one over here going, oh my God.
No, I'm just holding it in. I'm holding it in.
Just so good. So good. This is like the first few minutes of Up, but drawn out a full-blown episode and gay and apocalypse. That's what this episode is. And I love it. So from there, Bill will then cook him a beautiful dinner, and Frank would want Bill to crush up all his pills and put it in some wine. All the medication he has, crush it up, put in some wine so he can drink the wine, have a nice dinner, and fall asleep and die. Is basically what he wants to do. Bill says he can't, but Frank asks him he asked Bill, if you love me, do you love me? He replies, yes. And he says, love me the way I want you to. It is, I can just imagine the writers. What if he says this? And they're all just like, oh my God. I imagine that's what the writing room was like.
I mean, it's honestly, it's great communication. Like, even
it
like
is.
in not this situation, like, people think that it's a good way. Like, they love people the way that they decide is good to love other people, when in reality, like, you should love somebody the way that the person wants you to love them.
Yeah.
Like, don't like force your way of loving somebody onto someone that's not going to accept it in the way that you want to give it, you know? It's great.
It is. It's just so good. And that line is just like so. That's a memorable line. That's probably the most memorable line in the first 3 episodes so far is love me the way I want you to. And from there, the two just spend the day together. There's a touching montage of those two throughout the day. And they exchange rings and kiss. And of course, they get married. Bill again cooks them rabbits like the first meal when they first met, and crunches up pills into the same wine that they drank on their first day. And of course, puts the pills in the wine. At the end of the meal, that's when Bill brings out the 2 wine glasses and prepare to end the life of his love. Bill pours the wine and then takes a bag of ground up pills and dumps it into Frank's glass. Frank drinks the glass in one gulp, following by Bill drinking his own. Frank then asks if there were already pills in the bottle, and then of course Bill replies, "Enough to kill a horse." Bill says, "This isn't the sad suicide at the end of the play." This isn't the sad suicide at the end of the play. Bill is old, he's satisfied, and Frank was his purpose.
Doesn't Frank say, like, objectively, I should be furious, but romantically, I love it?
Yes.
Something along that line.
Yes. Because Frank obviously wants Bill to live on the rest of his life, but at the same point, it's like the way the world is. Honestly, Bill would probably last the rest of his days there, but would he want to do it alone again?
Yeah. That's what I was about to ask. Like, would you, like, if you lived this long with your love and you were basically forced to kill him, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what happened, was that he was forced to kill him. Like, would you be able to live with yourself with the fact that you killed your lover?
Honestly, if I'm old, I would probably and the world's full shit and no sign of getting any better.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have done the same thing, honestly.
Same.
Especially if I lived a long life and I'm old. Now, if I was younger, that's a different story. But if I'm like an old ass man, like 60 or 70,
that's not old.
Well, 70?
That's not old.
Well, these guys are obviously.
I'm telling you now, from someone who works with that kind of demographic, 70 is not old.
Well, they're probably in their 60s or 70s by the time they do this.
I mean, technically they're seniors, but
yes,
like, I don't consider that age old. Whenever I see like a 99-year-old lady fucking like doing laps around a 70-year-old, and I'm like, damn, okay.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. They're still old, but they're just in shape, taking care of themselves.
She used to be a dancer.
But 99, like 77, like, I'm sorry, when you get past like
late adulthood versus old age.
Yeah.
I would say once you get past 70, you're in your old age, and regardless if you like take care of yourself or not.
Yeah.
But I would say they're probably around 70s, my guess. Maybe late 60s.
I don't know. They look like, I don't know, because like it seems like maybe he's in his late 40s, maybe early 50s whenever the pandemic happens.
And then it's about 20 years. Say they'd be like late 60s, early 70s, because Bill was older. I think Bill is older than Frank.
Yes.
So Bill would probably be, my guess is Bill would probably be in his early 70s, and Frank would be like in his late 60s.
Mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's with the disease, with the sickness he has, it's aged him a whole lot more.
I'm assuming it's cancer.
That's my guess.
I'm assuming it is, because there's only 2 things that it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all like, well, the other one, like, only one of them has it. So obviously it's not that. So I'm assuming it's cancer.
Yeah.
But they never say what it is.
Yeah, they never say what it is, but you can kind of imply. You can kind of fill in the blank. So they laugh at this, and the pair laugh at their choice, and then Frank and Bill go to bed. And the two newlyweds have their final moments of life together in each other's arms. They close the door to the bedroom, lock the door, and they open the window. Or you'll soon find out they open the window. And they go to bed and they die in each other's arms. I was like, oh my God. I was a wreck. I was a mess.
So
I was crying.
So was I.
It definitely felt sad, but mainly because of the soundtrack that was accompanying all of this.
Yeah.
No, I'm such a hopeless romantic.
Yeah.
So like watching this, I was just like,
sometime after this happens, Joel and Ellie arrive at Bill and Frank's town. The flowers are dying. Bill and Frank's door is unlocked, and their final meal is left on the table, covered in dust. Joel goes to investigate and finds Bill and Frank's room barricaded. Ellie finds the letter on the table with the car keys on top of it, and the letter is addressed to whoever, but probably Joel. Which I'm like, that's accurate. Ellie reads the note, which tells whoever finds this note to not come into the bedroom.
Most likely Joel.
Most likely Joel. To not come into this bedroom. Continues to write. Bill writes that they can take whatever they need, and states that that he never liked Joel, but it's still like they're almost friends, and Bill respects him. Bill then adds that he used to hate the world, and was happy when everyone died, but he was wrong, and that there was one person worth saving, and that's what he did. He saved him. He protected him throughout these years of living in this compound, which was, of course, Frank. That's why people like himself and Joel are here. They have a job to do, and God help any motherfucker who gets in their way. Bill also writes that Joel can have all his weapons to keep, and then Ellie finishes the letter, and Joel looks at the letter and continues to say that Joel should use the weapons to keep Tess safe. Obviously, that can't be done, so Joel takes what he needs, finds all the weapons in the garage basement, one of the two, and gets in the car, and they leave. Before they left, they also talk about how they looked at Ellie's arm. Ellie's arm hasn't changed. It changed the battery, of course, and then they go off to find Tommy, who was in trouble in Wyoming. And that's where the episode ends. I don't think there's anything after that. Joel says he's taking Ellie with him.
When they find
he actually contacts his brother, right?
No, he doesn't.
No.
I just know that when they find all those guns, Ellie's like, "Can I have one?" Joel's like, "No." But she finds a handgun somewhere and just hides it in her backpack.
In the desk by the window.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's going to come up later.
So Joel then tells Ellie that there's rules she has to follow. She can't bring up Tess. In fact, they should keep their histories to themselves. Ellie can't tell anyone about her condition, and Ellie has to do what Joel says when he says it. Ellie agrees, of course, and with what Joel says, and then the two grab what they can, even though there's an entire wall of guns. Of course, as Bunyet put it, Joel says no for Ellie to have one. As Ellie looks around the house herself, she finds one and hides it in her bag. The two of them shower, and they get into Bill's truck. The first time Ellie's ever been in a car before, and Ellie finds a Linda. How do you say her last name?
Oh gosh.
Ronstadt?
Where is it at? Ronstadt.
Yeah, Linda Ronstadt cassette in the glove compartment, which they play as they leave Bill and Frank's town, as they continue on to go Wyoming. we see the truck depart from the open window to Bill and Frank's bedroom, where the two will remain together in each other's arms forever. And that's the end of episode 3.
I hate how the camera zooms out of them driving away and it zooms out into like the bedroom, like looking out the window.
I love that.
And I was just like, no, I hate it because I was just like,
Oh,
ah! And then the song that's playing is the song that they played on the piano.
I know.
And I was like, ah! The two gays just distraught.
full gay, sad panic.
We're just like, why did you do this to me?
My favorite episode of the 3.
So yeah,
Period. So, what was everyone's thoughts on the first 3 episodes?
I liked it. I wanted to
Exquisite.
continue watching. I really want to continue watching. I played the game, so I was really excited to see what they would do with the show. And so far, I have not been disappointed. So
Yeah, I haven't played the game in over 10 years.
yeah, it's been a minute since that game came out.
So I might play it again. I hope there's a moment where Joel gets a brick and he throws it at the doctor. It's about the maybe cut this part off if it's a spoiler, but when he's about to operate on Ellie's head, and he doesn't flinch at all. Like in the game, he doesn't flinch. But what if in the show the same thing happens? Just Joel has a brick and chucks it at him, and the doctor's just like, "Ow." Doesn't flinch at all. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty. And then Joel just has to like stab him anyway.
You know what's funny is that like I don't even think I'm gonna go replay it. I'm just gonna put on a let's play and just watch a let's play because I'm gonna be too lazy to replay it. I'm in the middle of playing another game, so I have finally had enough time to sit down and start playing the game that your partner gave me, Zia.
Mm-hmm.
And woo wee was I surprised by a big pair of tatas in the first like 3 minutes of the game. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I was like, those are boobies.
Titties.
Yeah, for real.
Sounds interesting.
Mad Chairman,
Yeah.
thoughts?
I love this show. I never played the game, but I love this show. The acting is so great on both Pedro Pascal and
You mean daddy?
Daddy.
Yes, Bella Ramsey.
Daddy.
They're amazing. Everyone in the show is pretty great. I like the kind of background they give on the virus. It's really in depth and it makes sense in a real world kind of scenario if you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, holy crap, this could actually happen.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I've cut out bread.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't eat bread no more anyway, so
Shoot, I eat so much
But it's flour and sugar. So anything that has sugar and flour in it. And there's a lot of stuff that you don't think would have flour in it has flour in it or sugar.
my guy, I do almond flour if I do flour, and if I do sugar, it's stevia sugar. So good luck. I am living a life of a pre-diabetic, so I have cut out a lot of that kind of processed shit. You can't get me.
Yeah, episode 3 was amazing, heartfelt.
So sad.
It was so sad. Yeah, there's nothing like to ding this show on. Like I can't, like, even if I nitpick, I couldn't say like. Maybe that the zombies are a little like, they seem like they're just kind of one note so far, up until episode 3.
Just wait.
Yeah, I have watched ahead, so I do know what's coming. But up to episode 3, just the clickers are kind of different, but they can't see unless they're basically T-Rexes.
Yeah.
They need
False.
and
That's false. That is false information. Don't be spreading that around.
For right now, they are. For right now.
it's pretty hilarious. So yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, bet. All right. So that is the first 3 episodes of Left 4 Dead. Oh my God. The Last of Us.
Left 4 Dead.
Left
What?
4 Dead.
Left
The
They
Last
made a
of Us.
show?
I wish. So this is the first 3 episodes of The Last of Us, HBO's biggest television venture. Like, I think this is the most adventurous like show project that they've done as far as some of the most expensive. I don't know if it is the most expensive, but I know it's the most adventurous, like the most ambitious project they have done is this series. And so far it's done well for them. It's already been greenlit for season 2 I think by episode 3, it was already greenlit for season 2. And I think it was by episode 3, if not episode 3. But yeah, this is already greenlit. So they're already working on season 2. Thank God. Because this is way better than Walking Dead. So, final thoughts?
I look forward to the next 3 episodes.
Yep.
Same. Oh,
Pretty much. Like, yes, show me more. I can't find anything that I really don't like about it. And they do kind of foreshadow, like, are there any especially dangerous infected out there? And it's like, yes. And I'm thinking of the first, like, big boss fight that you have where he's throwing stuff at you. And if he reaches up to you, he just splits open your jaw.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder how the show will handle that.
we'll
Like,
soon find out.
I even enjoy like the special effects makeup because like with those kind of zombies, like it could be a big hit or a big miss, you know. So I want to look into who they used for the makeup of the zombies because it looks really good so far.
Right. So on that note, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. And there'll be no rating this week. We're saving the rating for season 1 until the end of episode when we finish their 3rd episode in this 3-parter. So join us next time as we talk about episodes 4 through 6. Until then, bye.
Bye.